Welcome to Maths Made Easy. The topic for this video class will be solving equations. In other words, solve for x. Okay guys, when working with equations or solving for x, this is a really simple concept that you need to understand. This is not a lot of study work to do, but it is a lot of understanding to do. So I'm going to do the explaining work for you first, then I will give you the stuff that you need to study, that you need to know. So if we go and take a look at this. So let's say that we give you this equation. 15 minus 2x equals 9x minus 7. First of all, this is an equation because we have the equal sign. The moment you have an equal sign, you know this is an equation because you are equating the left-hand side with the right-hand side. So this is called an equation. Okay. The first step and the very first step that you need to do for solving for x is you need to get all the knowns to one side of the equation of the equal sign and all the unknowns to the other side of the equal sign. So let's quickly do that. Now you do this by using the inverse functions. Okay. So let's quickly do this. Let's write down minus 2x as it is here. Now this is a positive 9x. So if you take the positive to the other side of the equal sign, you need to change the positive to a negative. So this becomes negative 9x. After that, you're going to take the 15 over, but first of all you're going to write down whatever you have that is already on the right hand side of this equation, which is the negative 7. So I'm writing down negative 7. After that, you take over the 15. Now the 15 is a positive on the left hand side. If I take it to the right hand side, it must become a negative. So now I'm going to write down negative 15. Once you've done that, you're going to simply add everything together. So a minus 2 and a minus 9 together will give me a minus 11x. Afterwards, you're going to go to the right hand side. Minus 7 and a minus 15 will give me a minus 22. Now that you get to this point, you know that they say solve for x. They're not asking you to solve for negative 11x. They ask you to solve for x. So that means you need to get rid of the negative 11. Now on the left hand side, the negative 11 is not adding or subtracting with the x. It's multiplying with the x. There's a point that they don't show to you because the negative in front of the 11 only gives you the sign value of this number, which makes it a negative. But in actual fact, the negative 11 is multiplying with the x. So if I take the negative 11 to the other side of this equation, I'm going to change it to a divide because on the left hand side it is multiplying. So this means that x will be equals to negative 22 divided by negative 11. That means that x will be equals to a negative divided by a negative will give me a positive, and 22 divided by 11 will give me 2. So that means x will be equals to 2. Let's quickly go over the steps again. The first step is you get all the unknowns to one side of the equation and all the known numbers to the other side of the equation. After that, you need to simplify. Basically, you need to take the x and you need to get the x completely alone. So whatever is in front of it needs to go. This is what we did here. After that, you simplify the side that has the known numbers and you get to your final answer. This is the steps that you need to take. Now after this, you're going to go to the study work. Now the study work shows you that if we look at this one for instance, this is the inverse functions. Okay, I'm repeating this. This is the inverse functions. You can pause the video right here and you can write this down for yourself. But this basically means that if you take a positive to the other side of the equation, it becomes a negative. If you take a negative to the other side of the equation, it becomes a positive. If you take a multiply to the other side, it becomes a divide. If you take a divide to the other side, it becomes a multiply. You can write this down. This is the inverse functions. After the inverse functions, we're going to go and look at what happens when we multiply with the signs. If you multiply with a negative, so a negative multiply another negative, you get a positive. If you take a negative multiplied by a positive, it becomes a negative. If you take a positive multiplied by a negative, it also becomes a negative. And if you take a positive multiplied by another positive, it stays a positive. You can write this down as well. This is what happens when you multiply with the signs. Guys, this is basically the only things you need to know when working with solve for x. You always get the x, all the known numbers to the one side and all the unknowns to the other side. Then you're basically going to simplify. We do this by working with the inverse functions and by knowing what happens when I multiply the signs. You can go look at the previous examination papers and you will find some of these equations in there as well. And there's also the memos for those previous examination papers so that you can check whether your answers is right or wrong. If you still struggle with solving for x afterwards, feel free to contact us on our website and we can schedule a private class for you with one of our lecturers. Thank you for watching and I really hope this video helped. Goodbye.